Okay. Welcome back to the From the Fabricator podcast. I'm your host, Max Pearlstein. Thank you so much for joining me once again on this journey through the glass and glazing industry. As is tradition, the last podcast of the year is a solo podcast with a big influencer or somebody very, very meaningful and heads up among others. And so you'll find out about that in a moment. But first and foremost, appreciate the folks from FHC. They are sponsoring this episode. And when stock imported components can't accommodate your railing project, partner with FHC for award-winning glass railing systems that offer the utmost in safety, aesthetics, customization, lead time, and customer service. The industry has spoken. FHC's American-made, easy-to-install railing systems have been named Best Innovation for Installers by Glass Magazine and just won the Railing Project or Product category in USGlass Magazine's Reader's Choice Awards. Contact FHC today to learn why. And more architects and glaziers are placing their trust and business with FHC. You now have a choice. FHC-USA.com is the website. So thank you to them for the support all year of the From the Fabricator podcast. And thank you. If you're watching this, listening to this, I am very grateful. And so I appreciate you following along all year. The growth has been mind-blowing. So I am very, very grateful for that. Now, on to what you guys want to hear or watch. Bill Sullivan from Brin Glass is my guest, the final show of the year, the solo guest. Bill announced his retirement earlier this year. He's wrapping things up officially at the end of the year. It was a great chance to catch up with him and just, chop it up, look back at the past, talk about the present, look at the future. Bill's a brilliant, classy, amazing person. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll have some comments on the other side, but until then, here's Bill. Okay. So to end the year, I always do a solo podcast and somebody that I consider high in stature, influencer, important to our industry. And this year, the honor goes, and the honor is really all mine to get to talk to this guy, Bill Sullivan of Brin Glass, who announced his retirement earlier this year. He's going to wrap up 2024 and then move into a kind of a different phase of life. But Bill, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I can't wait to catch up with you.
Well, thanks, Max. I'm just tickled pink to be on here with you. I watch all your podcasts, and every Sunday, right after reading the Sunday paper, I'm on your blog. So
I'm honored by that. Thank you, and I'm thrilled to get to talk to you. Your career is unbelievable. You've done so much good for our industry, and that's why I wanted to kind of go one-on-one with you for the next half hour or so, and shoot the breeze. And so for those that don't know you, let's talk about you personally. And and there may be a few people that may not be familiar with you, but let's start with your past, where you were born, grew up, went to school and so on, and we can chop it up from there. How about that?
That sounds good. So born and raised in Wisconsin. I was born in Janesville, Wisconsin. Spent most of my young school life in Madison. Went to the university there. How could you not go to one of the best public universities in the country?
There you go.
So I'm a Badger, and first job right out of college was at Brin. And I remember back in the day, this was before the fax machine and all that good technology stuff that we have now, computers. Had to go to the library and check out different Sunday papers with all the want ads in, and I applied for a job at Brin for a contract sales estimator. I have a construction management degree.
Okay.
And so thought I was going to work for a general contractor. Job market was a little tight back then. And this is back in 1984.
Right.
And I saw this contract glazing estimator position. And so I thought, well, I'll apply for that. I don't know what the heck that is. And so I applied, and I got a call from Doug Nelson. You probably remember Doug.
I do. Yep.
He called to tell me I didn't get the job, but he had another job, a new position they were creating called a service sales position.
Okay.
And that basically was maintenance sales, break fix. And I really didn't want to go into sales, but I said, well, I need a job, so I'll take it. And came up to interview with him. and he basically hired me on the spot. And
Awesome. Now,
yeah,
was Brin in Minnesota or did they have a location in Wisconsin?
no, they were in Minnesota. So I checked out the Minneapolis Star Tribune paper, their want ads. I pretty much looked. I wanted to get out of Madison,
Okay.
and I'm the oldest of seven, and I want to get
Get away.
away from the
Yep.
family as I could. So I checked out Milwaukee, Chicago, Minneapolis, and uh, yeah, the opportunity at Brin uh, came up, and uh, got that job, and I started out in customer service because the customer service manager was pregnant and was going to go out on maternity leave, and so they needed a body to fill
Gotcha.
that opening. And so I spent 6 months on customer service, and it was the best training I ever had,
Yeah,
right? Because
sure.
you,
You're in the heat of it. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you from A to Z, and because I had uh, training and estimating and some blueprint reading and things like that, I got all the contractors that came in with the small projects that had drawings, and the other people in customer service weren't adept at that. And I just soaked that all up. And so I got great training, and then started my sales career. I said I'd do it for 6 months. Well, 40 years later,
You're still doing it.
still at it.
So before we go on in your career at Brin, I'm fascinated by the fact that you had to relocate to Minnesota, and especially, that was what are you, 22? You had to
Yeah.
jump in and
Yeah.
move to Minnesota, find an apartment, and how was that? I mean, that had to be a little daunting. I mean, especially being a family of seven, as much as you wanted to get away from the family, that's a jump.
Yeah. The other key thing was I was married at the time. I got married to high school sweetheart, I guess you would call at the time. And yeah, so we jumped in with both feet, and we're no longer married. You've met my
Yep.
wife of 34 years, Kathy,
Yeah.
several times, but um, my wife at the time, she had a sister in the Twin Cities, and
Okay.
so there was a little bit of connection there. But yeah, you're right. We moved up to Minneapolis, and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and a little naive to the big city. And I mean, Madison's a pretty good city, but it's not the size of the Twin Cities.
Right.
And yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And so you get into the world of Brin, which I know has grown over the years. When you got into it, what was it in size compared to now? I mean, because I know it's grown, it's changed, it's morphed here and there over the years. What was it like when you started?
Yeah, so it was Brin and Northwestern Glass, and Doug and his partner, when they bought it in '78, they merged the two companies together,
Gotcha.
and were housed in one location. And I think we did, when I joined, I think our sales were somewhere between probably 7 to 8 million in revenue way back then.
Yeah.
And uh, Brin started acquiring companies. They acquired a company in Duluth. They acquired a company in Rochester. And then in 1990, they acquired Heartland Glass.
Right.
And I had made it known to Doug that, hey, I wanted to do more than just sales. And usually there's a few more steps between sales and a general manager job, but I went up to, he bought Heartland Glass in St. Cloud in 1990, and I went up to manage it. And first time managing people.
Yeah.
And two of the employees were the two of the founders of the company.
Okay.
They were in their 50s. I was 28, 29 at the time. And again, I chalk up a lot of my success to being naive and jumping in with both feet, and
Right.
and not necessarily being afraid of the unknown.
No, and then you that's where I got to know you is when you were at Heartland.
Right.
And so I didn't realize through this whole thing you ended up being the owner of Heartland along the
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that was that was a cool thing about working for Doug. He was a great guy, obviously, but
Tremendous.
when I got up there, he let me manage the company as I saw fit, and then also provided me an opportunity to buy in as a
Right.
minority shareholder. And then after doing that, well, it was 2007, so number of years, 17. You know, I said, geez, we were coming off record years, and I said, I'm going to take the man down. And after 10 months of negotiation, um, we finally came to an agreement. I got to tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
So we were at an impasse in negotiations, and Doug said, "Hey, go hire a valuation accountant, and they'll put a value on the company, and we'll just go by what they say." And so, okay, I did that, and I came back with the valuation report and handed it to him. And if you remember Doug, he always had a cigar in his
Cigar.
mouth,
Yep.
and he was chomping on it. He's reading it. He throws it back at me. He goes, "He doesn't know what the shit he's talking about." And so I said, "Hey, you told me that's what we are going to agree to." And
Yeah.
anyway, we didn't agree on that valuation, but we came to an agreement, and I bought him out in 2007, and I was sole owner at that time. And again, right,
Right.
perfect timing on my part. We know what happened
Right
in
before the recession, right? That's
right, yeah,
killer timing there. Yep.
yeah. So, but again, naive, and learned a lot and had to pivot, downsize, and my poor wife, she did not know that I had to use her line of credit to make payroll a couple times, and but we uh, made it through, and yeah, then we ultimately remerged back together as part of Doug's succession plan in 2013.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that
And,
was wild.
and you're not the only one who's had to dip in that personal line of credit, to keep things going, especially during that time too. That was
Right,
a unprecedented rough time, and plus you buying it in '07. I mean, a lot of the bad stuff was like 2010, 2011. But you were still suffering in 8 and 9 because I know
right,
I was, and so that was a heck of a time to buy it. But you obviously brought it out. You were able, survived it, beat it, and then merge it back into Brin, and then kind of move up in the whole Brin organization where you became president in 2016, I believe.
right. Yep, that's correct. Yeah, we so from 2013 to 2016, I ran both Heartland and then our Brin contract division,
Gotcha.
and commuted back and forth. Um, uh, it went from like 2 days a week to 3 days a week to 4 days a week, and then it finally got to a point. I told my wife, Kathy, I said, "Hey, we need to relocate down to the Twin Cities. It's an hour and a half
Yeah.
drive one way, so 3 hours of my life was spent in the train or the vehicle, and just wasn't healthy for me.
No.
So,
No.
but we did that, and I started executive vice president, and then at 16 I was named president, and then Doug finally decided he was going to retire in 2018, and took on the role of CEO. Although he never really, he retired in, I think it was June of 2018. He stayed on the rest of that year and never missed a day of work. And, by that time, I don't know if you know, he had terminal cancer, and
Hmm.
he just said, you know what, he loved work and he loved the
Yeah.
industry, and he just kept doing what he could for as long as he could.
And he did. He did. He
Yeah.
did. He did. He tremendous human for sure. When did Northwest Glass Fab come into play? And that's your fabricating side.
Yeah. So that, we kind of made uh, kind of a strategic decision, kind of growth for our future. That that was like we started researching in 2014. Hey, we buy a ton of tempered,
Yeah.
and we really should look into buying a tempering furnace. And
Right.
of course, we didn't have the facility to house the tempering furnace. And so that one thing led to another. And so in 2016, we made the decision to relocate our fabrication division into and I think you've been there.
Yes, I have. Hmm.
Yeah, and we made a decision to rebrand it as Northwestern Glass Fab, kind of a testament to the
The
old
old
Northwestern
Northwest.
Glass Company.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a 100,000 square foot facility, and bought a tempering furnace and a new cutting line, and then we realized that cutting line wasn't sufficient, and then we bought another cutting line, and you know how that goes. We
Welcome
put
to the
in
world
a
of fabrication. It never stops.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, we put in a IG line that we repurposed from Viracon when they shut down the St. George, Utah plant.
Right.
And I think I was at Glass Build actually and got a call from their operations guy. And so I drove from Las Vegas up to St. George to take a
Check it
look
out.
at the equipment. And yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah,
So
sometimes the timing is the best. So,
yeah,
and you played it perfectly. And I was curious, and my memory might be playing tricks on me, but it was Brin Northwestern for a while, right? That was the
yeah,
the official name, and then you
right.
dropped and you just became the Brin companies. All right, so I'm not
Yes.
crazy
Yeah.
there. All right.
Yeah. Nope, you're not. Yeah. For a long time, from like 78 to really 2016, we were known as Brin Northwestern Glass. And we kind of separated those entities. The Northwestern name was going to be our fabrication and manufacturing division, and the rest of the entity was Brin Glass. And then we had Heartland Glass in St. Cloud, and St. Germain's Glass
Right.
in Duluth.
Right, right, right. So now, and I'm with Bill Sullivan, Brin Glass, I'm curious. Now you get to the point of earlier this year, and you decide to announce your retirement, which I think caught a lot of people off guard because you're super active and everything. There was really no outward indication, that you were going to, take a step away. What was behind the whole? Okay, I think I've hit the right time. We just had an industry, Nicole Harris, announce her retirement, and for
Right.
her, when I asked her, "Are you okay?" her comment was, "I'm great. I want to leave, at the top of my game." And she even wrote that in her blog post. What was it for you?
Yeah. So, to be honest, a couple things. Number one, uh, PK came on board,
Hmm.
and I think you know her story. She was a fractional marketing executive for us, and I realized she had more to offer, and brought her on as my chief operating officer in 22, and she took on the interim GM role immediately. Eric Fortin, who you knew,
Hmm.
um, decided to leave the industry, and so PK did a great job running that company. And I told her, I said, hey, um, you're either going to be a great bridge to whoever replaces me, or if you feel like you got the chops, I think you'd be a great successor. So we kind of went through that little dance, and she was worried she didn't have enough industry experience. And I said, to me, that's a strength of hers that she can leverage, that she's not going to get into the weeds. It's she doesn't need to know how many shear blocks are in a 1600 Kurt wall,
Right.
or you know that type of detail. So when I saw her operate, I thought, hey, this is somebody I'm confident can lead our company. That was a big part of it. And then I realized just for myself that I didn't have the same drive
Okay.
and you know effort as I had in the past. And I think I shared in my notes, the last 4 years have been challenging. The pandemic,
Yeah,
we had the George Floyd riots that
that's
really
true. Minneapolis, yeah.
impacted. There's a lot of collateral damage here locally with people and our employees and then the supply chain issues and so I think I've checked all those items off my bucket list, and
Yeah,
what better time to retire than 40 years is a good number,
love it.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
that works. So, and you speak of PK. PK is Priscilla Kokeritz, and I've had her on my podcast. It was earlier this summer. So if you're interested in listening to that, just search from the Fabricator. Look up just PK because I used those initials because I probably screwed up her last name again. So,
yeah,
but PK is awesome, very talented. So I could see, you recognizing that talent level and knowing that I know how much the people there. I know you're an ESOP, and I know how much the people there matter to you and you care about, even the ones that worked with you and went elsewhere, like our friend Melanie Detmer. You always
right,
care about everybody, so I know it was foremost in your mind. Am I leaving this in the right person's hands? And I think that obviously you did that. So good call
yeah,
by you.
thanks. Yeah, PK, that's one of her strengths. She's a great people connector. She's a great communicator. She has great business acumen. She can handle herself with the bankers and the insurance people and the bonding company, and that you always want to hire somebody smarter and brighter and better than you are, and so I think I did that with her.
You did. Very cool. Very cool. So now looking back, anything specific that you're like, I'm glad I did this. This is my best accomplishment. Anything that comes to mind?
Oh boy. Well, you know, I would say really, I don't know if it's accomplishment, but I'm really proud of the fact of the relationships I've built in the industry. It's a great industry, as you know, and it's the old adage that is the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, and
Yeah.
that's really true for me. I've had obviously I admire you a long time. You used to be really involved in the BDC more than you are now. And I remember your fights with the NFRC,
Yeah.
and you planted that stake right away that
It was an
basically
issue,
over my dead body.
pretty much. Definitely caused some adventures there. I'm glad you remember
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and the Ren Bartos, the John Dwyers, John Korf, Andy Gum, and then all the new people that are newer people, the Stanley Yees and Kayla from NSG,
Yep.
Cindy Sim,
Yep.
love Cindy. She's somebody that really connected with her. We met at a tour of Mercedes-Benz Stadium the first time.
For glass build, one of the first when
Yeah,
we did a
yeah,
glass build. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And just kind of was welcomed her and said, "Hey, welcome to the industry. If you got any questions, reach out whenever." And so we built a good friendship. And yeah, there's just a ton of great people in the industry. And I think also, Brin, just seeing the growth of Brin. We're over $50 million in revenue. I believe we're one of the few, if not the only company that's top 50 fabricator and a top 50 glazer.
True.
So that's um, I didn't verify that, but my marketing team so
Yeah.
they verified
Yeah.
that.
I don't
So
think there's anybody else, and that's not an easy dance.
no,
That is
no,
not
it's
an
not.
easy dance at all. And there's
No.
people that have tried and failed, pretty miserably. So, there's no doubt you pulled one off there.
Yeah, well, we still got work to do, to be honest, but
Right. It never
it's
ends. The work never ends. Right.
yeah. So, and I'm sure there's companies that don't report, you know, on
Right.
one side or the other, but uh, very proud of that, and proud of 40 years. There's so many different projects, that you could point to, but really just being there for our clients and helping them out and being there for our employees and helping being a resource to them. That's what I'm most proud of.
Love it. Love it. I love it. Now, so I want to ask the classic question of, if you could, if you knew then what you know now, I think about this all the time with myself. And I wish I knew then when I was in college what I know now. I could have done like so many things differently. Specifically with your glazing and glass career and Brin, if you knew then what you know now, what are some of the things that you may have adjusted or changed? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, you know, I I uh, I really think everything I've gone through has made me better because of all the learning experience. That's the bad things and the good things. And, I think of the timing of buying Heartland Glass, 2007. It's like, and then one of the first things I did was it made a big, we made addition onto Heartland. And this before 2008. The
Right.
ink on the papers wasn't even dry. And I remember Doug saying, I don't know if I would do that if I was you. And I said, oh, again, being naive, I was just going to plow through, and I did that. And wish I would have saved some of those resources to weather the storm a little bit better.
Sure.
And then similar, you know, uh, getting into the fabrication business. I mean, we did a lot of our due diligence, and we talked to great people at HHH, Mike and Terry,
Yep.
and talked to Ren. He gave us some good recommendations, other people to consider for tempering furnaces, and still to this day, Nancy from Mappy gives me a hard time because they finished second, but love her to death.
Yep.
She's a great person for our industry. Um, but getting into fabrication, not know, with the pandemic just 3.5 years away,
Right.
that wasn't the best time to do that, and especially because we invested in all the equipment that I mentioned, and then having the pandemic hit, and the big drop in revenues and having to fight back. So that timing wasn't the best, but again, you learn from that, and there's really, you know, um, nothing that was like, boy, you
Okay.
know,
No, it's all good. It's a learning from experience thing, and I think that it sucks in the moment, but
yes,
then it going forward. So like all of us who lived through the recession, we know what to do a little bit better the next time there's a recession, sort
100%.
sort, sort of thing. So it is that, but it does suck going through it. There's no doubt. But good stuff. I like it. I like it. I'm with Bill Sullivan, Brin Glass. A couple more questions for you because I know even though you're retiring, I know you keep a busy schedule because you don't stop. And so I want to mix it up a little bit with a fun one. I'm very curious now that you are going into that next phase of life. What is on the Bill Sullivan bucket list? What are you going to do with a little bit more extra time with your life?
Yeah, well, hopefully, I'd like to knock about 4 strokes off my golf handicap. So
So
a
you're
little
going to
more
go
golf in the
from
summer.
a four to a scratch? Is that what it is now? Is that
Yeah, no, I wish. I'd like to get to single digits, but
okay? Okay, that's good. Good
um,
goal.
yeah, yeah. Travel a little bit more, although my wife and I have been traveling. We went to Italy and France last year, the year
Wonderful.
before that, to Ireland, Scotland. Currently have a trip to Japan and Korea in June scheduled, although that with martial law being declared here
Yeah.
in Korea, that made my wife a little concerned. So we'll
Right.
see if that goes through. And I mentioned that we had a brand new baby granddaughter. I want to be the best grandpa I can be.
You will.
My wife has already delegated the cooking responsibilities to me moving forward. She's going to continue working. She's a teacher,
Okay.
and
Great.
yeah. So
Can you cook?
find
Can you cook? Are you a cook, or are you going to take? Or are you going to
yeah,
like take some lessons?
I'm pretty good around a grill, and
Are you Andrew Herring level on a grill?
No, no, no.
Okay.
You know,
He's the king.
this whole TikTok videos, you've seen it on our
Yes.
Twitter
They're
growing group. I
ridiculous.
mean,
They're
yeah,
ridiculous.
he's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can cook. I cooked something last night, and so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just kind of decompressing a little bit. Going to find a volunteer organization
Good.
that I can um, offer my services to, and I still envision being involved in the industry in some manner with Brin for sure, and then potentially there's some other opportunities I've explored. So
Good. Well, yeah, I think this next phase is going to be awesome. You have a lot to offer, and you can kind of pick your spots, and also it allows PK to move up and keep doing what she's doing. A couple more for you. Biggest influences. Obviously, you mentioned Doug Nelson, and I'd love to talk a little bit about that. But Doug, and who else are your biggest influences in your career?
yeah, Doug for sure. And I don't know how much time you spent around him, Max, but he was who he is. He didn't care if he was in a boardroom of the former AFG and Guardian. He knew all those guys. So, Ross Huffner from Apogee back in the day.
Yep.
He could handle his own there, and then he could go out in the shop and tear apart the beveling machine with our maintenance guy and figure out what was going on. And he was just as comfortable in either environment. And so I'd like to think that I've tried to be as authentic as I can and treat people with respect and doesn't. I tell people all the time they can't believe it. We were our Duluth operation. Typically, if I got a multi-day visit, I'll stay at a hotel, and they've been super busy the last couple of years, and so they've. One of our benefits is we can shift resources, glazing to different areas, and
Yeah.
there's a crew from our St. Cloud office staying in this hotel that we have a agreement with, and I come waltzing in, and they go, "What the heck are you doing here?" I said, "Well, got some meetings this week. I'm staying here." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, geez, we thought you'd be in, the
The
fancy
Ritz.
place on the
Yeah.
street." And I said, "No,
That's not
it's
you. Yeah.
good enough for you guys. It's good enough for me." And so, sat down and had a beer with them, and so
Uh,
just being a regular guy. I said, I just because I have a title that's different from you doesn't mean that I put my pants on any differently.
right.
You have a job to do. I have a job to do. We just got to do it to our best of the ability and respect each other, and everything will be good.
That's the way you always rolled. And before I ask you about a couple others, I think Doug would be super proud of you and everything you've accomplished. And then you got to give Doug his props also that you didn't get the first job you applied for, and he had the
Right,
foresight to say, "I want to put you in somewhere else."
right.
Because I mean, he could have missed out, and who knows what industry you would have ended up in. It was beautiful. He had the mind, so we had to give him credit. My experience with him was relatively limited to industry events, but I
Yes,
remember him bigger than life.
yeah,
It was he did own the room he was in at all times.
right.
At least with me. He definitely was bigger than life for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was a great guy. Um, Others that come to mind, I think of uh, Ren Bartow. I served on the Centric board.
Right.
People that name won't mean anything to a lot of people, but you know what it,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was the old kind of oversight to the Glass Association of North America. So
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just his involvement in the industry and his connections. I learned a lot from him. John Dwyer, great guy.
Super
Another
guy.
one that back in the day, Doug Nelson and John's father Jim and Andy's father George.
George.
Those three guys would get together, and even though you weren't supposed to compare pricing back in the day,
Well,
hey, what are
different
you getting?
markets though.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the beautiful thing. You guys were in totally different markets,
right.
the John was last year's solo interview for me in December. So it's good that I like that there's a little bit of a connection there because I'm a big John Dwyer guy, super guy, and another one who is now in his next phase of life, and and good for him. So yeah, I like that. And I love Ren. Ren is
Yeah,
fantastic. He's got to be over the moon right now that his Steelers are doing well. So I'm sure
right,
he's
right.
extremely
Yeah,
happy.
and Penn State's in the playoffs.
That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah, he and I we've been fishing buddies for geez, almost 20 years. Remember Pat Rome
Yep.
and Pat had a place up at Flag Island, and George Gum, Ren, Cliff Monroe. We do an annual fishing trip up there, and it was great connection. And we just we did that again this past fall. Smaller
Love it.
group,
Love it.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, Cliff passing away is still
yeah,
leaves a huge hole in my heart. Miss him dearly. Good man. Taken
yeah,
from us way, way too soon. Way,
100%,
way too soon.
100%.
A couple more for you. As an industry, you've seen it all now, and you've worked. The nice thing about your perspective is that you've worked literally in every position in the place, and
Yeah,
also not only from the glazing side, but from the fabrication side. I also love the fact that now you have the architectural side covered with your son as a working architect. So the
right.
Sullivan family is checking every box. So, and good for him, and congrats to Sean. But in our area, what can we get better at now that you can look back a little bit? What are the areas that we should be doing better as an industry?
You know, uh, really promoting ourselves. We are like the best kept secret that nobody knows about. Nobody
Right.
still knows what a glazer is. If you walk, stop somebody down the street, what's a glazer? They're going to think it's a donut, right?
Yes, every time,
And,
every
and,
time.
and you know, if I think the NGA, if they, with all their power and marketing behind them, if create promotional videos that we can share with the tech schools and the high schools and even the colleges and universities, just to kind of glorify what our industry does, because we
Yeah,
do so many amazing things, and we skin our products are in every outside of every building
yeah.
and inside of every building, and we just don't do a good enough job of shouting our successes. And
Agreed. Agreed. We got to get better at that. And
yeah,
I know there's been we've had a few different things come out that at least I speak from the NGA side. I think it's scratching the surface. There's a long way to go. And the one thing that really did it for me is you were at Glassbuild, and the funny thing about you being at Glassbuild, I was so out of it that I wrote you afterwards and said, "Sorry, I missed you at Glassbuild." And you're like, "I talked to you. We caught up at Glassbuild. I
yeah,
completely forgot."
it was day one. I'll give you some grace.
Yeah, but that was pretty wild. But the one thing that was exciting at Glassbuild is you probably saw the students that we had. We had 50
Yes.
students from a local high school, and they had a blast, and they were blown away by the product. And then all the vendors were, the vendors really were like, "Oh, this is great." And if we can keep building off of that, that's what we have to continue to lean into. Like you're saying, we do have to bang our chest. We have to create some, videos. I mentioned earlier when we were offline, Tom Jackson, Steel Encounters, created a really great video promoting his company with trying to bring people in. We got to do that as an industry though, and get better at that. So it's good call by you.
Yeah, there's so many, the NGA represents the big companies and the small companies, and a lot of the smaller companies, they don't have the resources to create their own videos,
Right.
and they don't have somebody smooth like, I know Andrew's not with the NGA any longer, but Melanie, creating some videos that promote our industry, and
I think
it's
we put Melanie on a tour bus and just send her
yeah,
everywhere. I mean,
right,
the world tour of Mel Detmer. I think that she is a rock star, so she could get people going for sure. I have no doubt.
100%, 100%.
And the connections, she used to work for you way back in the day.
Right, right. Yeah, it's funny, and she probably cries about this, but she held a lot of different jobs here, and the one job she didn't have was a marketing job, because we didn't have a marketing department, and we really didn't dip our toe into marketing. And of course, then she leaves and gets a marketing job at the NGA, and then we hire a marketing
Yeah.
company, and Yeah. So sorry, Mel,
Yeah,
that we
tough.
didn't start that marketing company before. I'd always say, Mel, stay in your own lane. You're our TI estimator. You're not our marketing person. And yeah,
It's the
we had
it's the energy she
monthly
has.
meetings. Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
energy she has, and it's unbelievable. She's a huge piece of NGA, and it's exciting. But before I let you go, Brin, going forward, you already mentioned a little bit. Everything's going good. You're good with PK, the group, the ESOP, everybody.
yeah.
Your feelings as you move forward, and I know you're going to stay involved in a little bit of form and fashion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the only, again, what would you change? Handing off the reins to PK during, challenging 2024 for the commercial
Right.
construction market. Not ideal, but I'm happy to say that, it was funny, Max. The Wednesday after the election, we got half a dozen calls. Hey, this project's coming back to life. And it's like, it happens every 4 years.
Does. Yeah.
People get alligator arms, and then it's like, doesn't matter who really would have won, right?
Exactly.
They,
Exactly.
it's like, yeah, let's go. So we secured more in the last 60 days than we did the first 6 months of the year.
My
And
gosh.
it's just, yeah.
That
So
that's amazing. But yeah, the team's ready to rock and roll going forward, no matter what, right?
100%, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Well,
2025 is definitely going to be better than 2024. Might not be all the way like we would like it to be, but it's, I see good things ahead.
beautiful. I appreciate that. That's good piece. So before we let you go, any parting thoughts? Anything you want to deliver to the industry? You've got the pulpit here. Anything you want us to know?
Yeah, just challenge uh, everybody out there to get involved in the NGA. It's our, uh, or get involved at your local level.
Yeah.
A lot of states have their own glass association, local glass association. Get involved. That's, you know, the future Maxes of the world and the future Andrew Herrings of the world, the future Nicole Harrises of the world.
Yep.
We need those people to grow and elevate, and so uh, get involved. That would be my challenge to everybody out there, and give back to the industry.
And it's not a huge lift either. I mean,
No,
and it's fun too. I mean, look at all the relationships you built.
100%,
Again, your relationship with somebody like Ren was boosted by going to Ghana meetings. You
100%.
made a huge difference. And now he's a friend for life, but also a key person with the way when you expanded, he was a key kind of, component of that.
Yeah, the industry knowledge in helping you make better decisions because of those connections are invaluable. And it's yeah, I've been blessed um, to know all those people, and blessed to know you, Max. Uh,
Same.
it's there's one thing you mentioned. One of the things I'm proud of, being the 2019 industry MVP. I remember it to this day. I was sitting there reading the paper, and then I get to your blog, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" out loud. My wife says, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" I said, "Holy, you know what?" again,
Yeah.
and I said, "Max, name me MVP." And I mean, to me that was out of the blue, but it the great Mel Detmer in her marketing, she in my office, she decorated it with the congratulations and a big, those foam number one
Uh-huh. I love
that you
it.
see at sporting events. She had that with my picture plastered on it. So I appreciate that recognition. It was much appreciated.
Well, it was well deserved. Well deserved. I'm honored to be able to put that recognition out there. And it's funny, this episode comes out on the same day that the 2024 MVP and runners up get announced. So there'll be somebody new to join your relatively exclusive club of it'll be the 14th person that gets selected for that, or person or company, because we've had a couple companies win. But no, I'm glad. It was well deserved. You earned it. And I love the reactions. Chuck Knickerbocker had a similar reaction when he won, and so I love that. And nobody knows until it hits the blog. So it's
Right.
pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's one of the funnest things I think I get to do every year. So I love that. But congrats,
Yeah.
you deserved it, my friend. You deserved it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Uh,
I hope we recognize you sometime for being our industry
I
MVP.
it was nice. A couple years ago, I at BEC, I was called up there for a few words, which really made my day and kind of blew me away. And so yeah, I'm just thrilled to be here. Love this industry. Love getting to work with folks like you. And I
Yeah.
hope we can continue to stay in touch, even though you're kind of you're going to be volunteering and doing some other things, but we got to stay in touch, my friend.
That sounds great, Max. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bill Sullivan. I wish you the best. Happy and healthy New Year to you and your family, especially that new granddaughter. And look forward to seeing you sometime soon again.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thanks.
All the best.
Okay, that wraps things up for the year. Before I go, a special thanks to FHC. And when stock imported components can't accommodate your railing project, partner with FHC for award-winning glass railing systems that offer the utmost in safety, aesthetics, customization, lead time, and customer service. Find them online at fhc-usa.com. You now have a choice. Contact them now to find out what architects and glaziers are putting their trust in that business. Thank you to them for the support this year. And before I go, I always usually use this section for TV choices. There's only one at this time of year. It's a Wonderful Life. See it on TV, look at it on demand, go to the movie theater and watch it. I love It's a Wonderful Life. Donna Reed, Jimmy Stewart. It's a great, great movie. Can pretty much recite every line. So It's a Wonderful Life is the recommendation. I would assume everybody has seen that or heard of it at least. If you haven't, check it out. Wonderful film and makes me cry every time, even though I've seen it about a million times. Thank you again. As I said in the beginning, I'm grateful for all of you. Appreciate you checking it out. I'll be back right after the start of the new year. Got a couple really cool guests lined up. Hopefully that doesn't fall through between now and then. And again, we'll see you in 2025. Thank you.